I've always had to think about food costs, but it's just heightened since the inflation crisis. When I can't afford food, my bulimia feeds off this. It's food for me or my kids, and obviously, I choose them. So I often skip meals or just eat toast. I've justified that it saves money, which obviously it does, but it's been easy to slide back into old habits. The kids eat, I don't have to.
Growing up poor, I found it really difficult to ask for food and skipped loads of meals. I felt like I was greedy for making my parents spend money on food for me. I'm sure it was a big part of why I developed an eating disorder. I always had loads of guilt around eating. I found it so much harder more recently with the cost of everything going up massively. And because binging is my safety net, especially when I'm feeling overwhelmed, I just feel like I'm in this loop where I'm so stressed about how much everything costs. But then binging helps ease my stress. But it's then so expensive.
The increasing food costs have just made it easier to fall into restricting again. There was a time last year when I'd eat one meal a day to make sure I could afford my bills. If I don't eat, I can save money. I've lost weight again though. And when I couldn't really have my heating on over winter, it was pretty tough, just being so cold all the time.
I just always feel so stressed and guilty. I feel guilty not being able to work and worry my kids aren't getting a good quality of life. I can't always give them healthy food. And I then worry about the issues this might cause them, or that they're not having the same experiences as other kids and feeling poor compared to their friends or bullied because of it.
You're told to cook from scratch and batch cook and buy things in bulk. But these things just cause me to binge. When I was really struggling, I went to a food bank, but I just felt so embarrassed. I felt like everyone was looking at me and judging me, being the size I am. I've not been back.
It just feels like spending money on food isn't worth it, that I'm not worth it. I tell myself that I'm not eating to save money, as spending money on food gives me stress, and gaining weight gives me stress, so it's just easy to control both by eating less.
All this has just meant that my recovery has gone backwards. I do think professionals could be more aware of how my recovery as a single working class parent just won't be the same as somebody in a middle class family. I used to see myself as having mostly recovered from my eating disorder, but the cost of food has brought back unhealthy habits I spent years working hard to change. It feels like this time though, there's more to do with what's going on more widely in society. So I suppose I need to try not to be so hard on myself and ask for help when I need it.
The words and experiences featured in this animation were inspired by answers from a survey conducted by the Edify programme. Many who took part in the survey shared they would find it helpful if someone had asked about how the cost of living crisis and food insecurity was impacting them, and doing so in a kind, non-judgmental way, signposting them to additional support they could be getting.